Hey, thanks for stopping by. Today we've got something fun to learn. A little bit more about LightBurn. We're going to use some tools that you may or may not know about. And when you see how easy it is to create some pretty unique designs, you're going to have a ball with this. Our first project, we're going to take some different simple shapes, some circles and some rectangles, and in just a short amount of time, we're going to create something like this. We're also going to take some polygons and some triangles, add a circle, and generate something like this. These are a lot of fun, and the good thing about this process, you'll learn a little bit more about node editing. We'll be using the circular array tool and some other things that you might not know about. So let's jump into LightBurn and start having some fun. Before we get started, let's make sure that you have your workspace set up properly. First thing that you're going to want to do is come up here to your little gear box here. This is part of your setup menu, and you're going to click on that, and you want to make sure that your snap to objects is on. This will make life a lot easier when you do designs like this, because one shape will snap to the center of another shape, or one line will snap to another. It just makes it a lot easier when you're trying to align things and get things true. So make sure this is on. As a matter of fact, I leave this on for 95% of the time I'm using LightBurn. I feel it's a very helpful tool. So we're going to have that on. The other thing that we got to make sure that you have is that you have this Shape Properties tab activated. If you don't see your Shape Properties tab in either the top pane or the bottom pane, just come up here to Window and come down here to Shape Properties and make sure that that is selected. If it's not checked, go ahead and check it, and it should show up in one of your two different panes. So that needs to be on for the thing that we're going to make today. So what I thought I'd do is I'd step you through this process. At first you might look at this process and go, gee, this looks a little complicated, but it really isn't. Once you see how it works, it's very simple and it's very powerful in what you can create in just a short amount of time with just simple shapes. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to step you through this process, and then I'm going to switch desktops. I've got two different LightBurns running right here. One's going to describe the process, and then we're going to jump into the second LightBurn, and we're going to actually do it. I'm going to take this video just a little bit slower, so if you want to follow along, you can. I will tell you that once you do this, the sky is the limit as far as designs are concerned. Even if you just tweak what we're going to do today, just ever so slightly, you'll be amazed on the different designs you can come up with. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, now that we've got the things that we need turned on, our shape properties, and we've got our object snaps turned on, let's just zoom in here and I'll show you what our process looks like. We'll take this step by step. We'll take it a little slower so you can follow along, and before you know it, we're going to have a very cool shape to check out. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to make a 2-inch by 2-inch polygon. The polygon tool sits right here, and once we generate this 2-inch polygon, we're going to take that polygon and use the Shape Properties tab to turn that polygon into a triangle. The nice thing about the polygon tool and the Shapes Property tab is you can modify the polygons to many different shapes. Once we have our triangle, we're going to go ahead and draw a 1/2-inch perfectly round circle. Once we have that circle, we're going to use our object snaps, and we're going to take this 1/2-inch circle and snap it into the center of this triangle. And you just want to make sure that your object snaps are on. And then if you haven't done any node editing before, this would be a good little starter, a good way to begin on learning how to edit basic shapes. So we're going to jump in to this other screen here, and let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our polygon tool, and we're just going to hold it out. We're going to hold the shift key down, and that way it keeps the proportions correct. We're going to just drag it out, and I really don't care at this point what size it is, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to unlock this lock, and I'm going to correct this and say I want this 2 inches by 2.0 inches, and I'm hitting the tab key as I'm changing numbers. And now we have a 2 inch by 2 inch polygon. I'm going to go ahead and lock that. Okay. Now with that staying selected, I'm going to come over here to the Shape Properties tab. And you'll notice right here we've got the number of sides here. And I'm going to just reduce that number of sides to 3. And now we have a triangle instead of a 6-sided polygon. Just that easy. Now we've got a triangle. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to draw a 1/2 inch circle. So I'm going to come up here to the circle tool. I'm going to hold the shift key down while I drag my mouse out, and it'll make a perfect circle. I'm just going to drag it out, let it go. I'm going to come up here, make sure this is locked. I'm going to change one of these to 5.0 and hit the tab key. That's going to make a 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch perfectly round circle. I'm going to come up here to the select tool, and I'm going to grab the middle handle here, and I'm going to move it until it snaps in the middle of that triangle. You can tell if you have your object snaps on, when you bring it into this shape, it'll snap in right there. Now we've got this 1/2 inch circle that's in the middle of this triangle. Now that we've got our triangle and our circle made, we're going to modify the shape of this triangle. We're going to do a little node editing in order to do that. If you learn how to edit nodes in LightBurn, you will open up a whole new world in what you can do with this program. Once you understand kind of the concepts behind node editing, it will make your life when you design in LightBurn so much easier. One of the basic things that you got to remember if you start to edit a shape is right now, if I select this triangle, there is no nodes showing for me to do anything with. And so anytime you want to modify or add points or change this into a different shape, you need to get this shape into a node editing mode. And the only way to do that is to change it from a triangle or a shape into a path. And so the way to do that is we're going to select the triangle, we're going to come up here to edit, and we're going to say convert to path. Now that's been converted to a path. It's no longer a shape. Then once this is now just a path, I'm going to come over here to the node edit button. And you notice when I turn this on, now I've got nodes that I could handle, so that I can drag and do whatever I want with. Okay. This is very powerful when you start to understand what this can do for you. So now I have 3 nodes, 1 at each corner, but I want to add some nodes because I want to modify this triangle. So one of the things that you'll notice is that if I hang my cursor over this line, you get a hash mark. And as you move this hash mark up this line, it's going to turn into a center symbol on the halfway point between those 2 nodes. If I push I for insert on the keyboard, it's actually going to insert a node now halfway between this node and this node. I'm going to do the same thing for this side over here, I, and I'm going to do the same thing over here, I. So now instead of 3 nodes, we have 6 nodes, which means we have the capability now to modify this triangle. So now that we've got a node here, a node here, a node here, what we're going to do is grab that node and drag it towards the center, and it'll snap to the circle. We're going to grab this one over here and snap it to the circle. We're going to come up here and snap it to the 6 o'clock position. Now, one of the things that you want to pay attention to is these nodes need to be equal, so everything is uniform. So what we're going to do is I'm going to use this line in my guide just so everything is even. Now we have a nice star design instead of a triangle. Well, we're almost done, and we're going to be able to create this beautiful design here in just a minute. So the next thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to take this out of node editing and go back to the selection tool, and we're going to select our circle. So now that we've got our circle, our triangle has been modified. We're going to take this circle, grab it, and snap it right to this point right down here. So now we've got this circle snapped in the middle to the end of this point. Okay, so let's go ahead and review right quick where we're at. We've created our polygon. We've changed it to a triangle through the Shapes property tab. We created our half-inch circle. We put our half-inch circle in the middle of this triangle. We went and we converted the triangle to a path. We did some node editing and brought these sides from that triangle in to touch the circle in the middle. And at this point, we took the circle that was in the middle and we attached it down to this point. And now we're really done with our design other than using the circular array tool. So we'll do that next. We'll take this shape here and we'll learn how to use the circular array tool. And before we know it, we're going to be able to generate a shape like this. We have our shape here, our modified triangle, and our circle. And now we're going to learn a little bit about the circular array tool. These tools down here, the rectangular array and the circle array tool, are a lot of fun, and you can create some really unique stuff with those tools. One of the things to keep in mind is when you're using the circular array tool, you have to indicate kind of what you're wrapping against what. So in this particular case, we're going to take this shape, this modified triangle, and we're going to wrap it around this circle. And so the sequence in which you select these paths will determine on what the outcome is. So I'm going to go ahead and select the modified triangle. I'm going to hold down the Shift key, and I'm going to select the circle. And so what I'm saying there is that I want the triangle to be wrapped around the circle. If I come down here to the circular array tool, the things that you want to pay attention to is that we're going to start at 0, meaning the top. We're going to end at 360, which means everything is going to be a complete circle. And your number of steps here just depends on how you want it to look. And this is where you could modify it. And every time you create a step, creates a different look in your shape. And so if we just keep moving this up to close to 23 steps, and if I say OK, and then I come in here and make sure that my color layer is set to fill mode, I'm going to go ahead and highlight all of these shapes, and I'm going to hit preview. And right there you have a pretty unique design. Now you can see if I would just go back and just back this up a little bit, go back into my circular array tool, once I have everything selected, if I just either increase or decrease this number, go back and highlight all of this, Now you can see how much difference the design is. The sky's the limit when it comes to these kind of things. So just remember, when you're using the circular array tool, you want to make sure, number one, you can only pick two shapes. So if for some reason you put another shape inside this shape, you have to group these two shapes and then select what you're wrapping it around. All right, let's go to the second project. Okay, for our second project, we're going to do a slightly different design with some different shapes. We've got a 2-inch circle. We've got a 3/4 inch circle. We've got a 1/4 inch circle. And we've got a rectangle that's a 1/4 inch wide by 1 1/4 inches high. And so I'm going to go ahead and make sure that my select tool is active. I'm going to come over here and place this 3/4 inch circle in the middle of the, maybe, there we go. We're going to take this 1/4 inch circle and place it just underneath that circle. We're going to take the rectangle and place it under here where it touches. Again, spacing is not critical. I'm not even sure this is lined up. What we're going to do then is we're going to go ahead and select all of it. We're going to come up here to the vertical alignment tool and make sure that everything is vertically aligned. Okay, everything is vertically aligned now, and all we're doing is using these circles as guides, stop points, if you will, for some straight lines. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and select our pencil tool. And we're going to come over here to about the 10 o'clock position, come down to the middle of that circle, come back up to the 10 o'clock position, come down to the edge of that 1/4 inch circle, and then right in the middle of the edge of that rectangle. Come back up. It'll snap to that side. Come back up. Click. Right mouse click. And now we've completed our extended Y, shall we say. I'm going to go ahead and select these circles. Oops, excuse me. I'm going to make sure I'm in select mode. We're going to get rid of these circles. We're just going to highlight them. I'm holding the shift down as I'm selecting all of those items, and I'm just going to move it out of the way. Okay. And then what we'll do is we'll take this 1/4 inch circle and we'll come down and put it on the end here. Snapped right to the center of that. And so now we are going to select our extended Y first, our little circle second, go to our circular array tool, and start at 0, end at 360. Make sure all three of these are selected on, and then we can play with our number of copies. It looks at like 27 copies brings this right together. We say OK. We make sure that our mode is on fill. Come in here and we select it all and say preview. Looks like we got one little something there. It shouldn't be there. I'm going to say delete. Go back here and say preview. And now we have a completely different, really attractive design. As you can see, once you start playing around with just different basic shapes and using the array tool, you'll be amazed on how quick you can generate different designs. And so I would encourage you to go ahead and play with this kind of stuff. If we wanted to come back and just do one more right quick, where we said Let's do not quite as many copies. Maybe we're going to open this up just a little bit and say OK. Get rid of that little spot right there. I don't know where that came from. And highlight it. And now we've got a nice little flower design. Well, as you can see, by learning just a few extra tools in LightBurn, you can create some really unique shapes and items for your customers. I hope this information was helpful. I'd really appreciate it if you'd like and subscribe. Until next time, have a great day.